up? It's your boy T-Bear Reaction. Today, me some other stuff. You kind of heard it in my last video. It started was a video from the homie from Digging the Greystone. I thought it was a good one to check out as well too, with the release of the new Good Burger song, Good Burger 2 that came on Paramount 2. And like I said, it was a cool movie to watch as well too. This is called Why Did 90s Nickelodeon Music Slap So Hard? And that is facts, especially with the likes of Kenan and Kel, the Good Burger soundtrack. I actually bought the Good Burger soundtrack. All that and many other shows as well too that slapped as well too. My Brother and Me, even the rock ones like Pete and Pete on Adventures. And many Clarissa Explains It All. Who else? Many others. I mean, the Rugrats song, Rugrats, Doug. A lot of the 90s Nickelodeon music slapped. Rocko's Modern Life, it slapped as well too. SpongeBob still a classic. Cat Doll's a good little theme. Good amount. So yeah. Anyway, we want to hear from the homie Digging the Grace on telling us why did 90s Nickelodeon music slap so hard. I mean, well, 90s music slap regardless, but definitely for the kids growing up like myself. Yep, I'm showing my age. 90s Nickelodeon music definitely slapped though, for real. Anyway, remember the Rugrats rap that was like kind of sound like Criss Cross a little bit? Remember that joint? Yeah, but anyway, let's get it.
TV shows for kids play an important role. They can be educational like Sesame Street, teach kids kindness like Mr. Rogers, or get kids excited about reading like LeVar Burton on Reading Rainbow. But there was one kids TV show network that did things differently, making fun comedy for kids and bringing in music from real artists. I'm of course talking about Nickelodeon in the 90s. Do you remember how insane this era was? Let's give a quick review. Coolio did the theme song to Kenan and Kel. Yep. The theme for Cousin Skeeter was 702.
Yep.
All That's theme was TLC. But it's not even just the theme songs. All That's musical guests were crazy.
Gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our musical guest, Brandy.
Let's all give a friendly round of sound for 112.
Run DMC, yeah. Yup.
But
Even nod, yeah.
Sure. One large round of sound for our musical guest, Erica Badu.
Hey, yo.
Looking back, this is mind-boggling. I mean, any show that featured all of these artists in their prime would be crazy. Let alone a kids show. All That and 90s Nickelodeon in general introduced a new generation of kids to some incredible music. In fact, as we'll explore later, I wouldn't be on your screen right now if it weren't for 90s Nickelodeon. So I had to get some answers. How was this possible? How did shows like Kenan and Kel and All That become what they were? How did they book these insane musical guests? Did they know the impact they were gonna have? Why did 90s Nickelodeon music slap so hard? To answer these questions, I talked to these guys.
I am Heath Seifert. I am a writer, producer, showrunner. My first real gig was as a writing partner with Kevin Coppolo on All That Season 1.
Oh, it's Kevin
I'm
Coppolo,
Kevin
yeah.
Coppolo, and I have the exact
Oh, it's
same...
Kevin! 5 minutes! That's 5 minutes, Kevin! Hey! Because you can't show Dan Snyder because, you know...
information. That's Heath Seifert saying I've been writing and producing partners with Heath for about 30 years now, and went from All That to Kenan and Kel.
We helped Cousin Skeeter get off the ground back then. Co-wrote the first Good Burger movie. We have recently written the Good Burger 2 sequel.
From a comedic perspective, was there
I'm
processing?
glad they was able to do some things after the whole controversy with the Dan Snyder situation, man. You know, cause you know which one Dan Snyder is. That's the one that played the heavyset guy was like the manager of Good Burger on the Good Burger skits in the first movie as well too, as well as many other skits on All That as well too. But yeah, there was some controversy going on with him. That's another story, and not going to ruin this moment for that. But yes.
Coming up with stuff because like I said, like I watched the show as a kid, so the only reason I know who Ross Perot is because of All That.
Yeah.
Nice.
But looking back, that's such an obscure thing for a kid's show.
Yes.
Shout out to
I would say
Katrina.
that Ross Perot is almost an exception to the rule for how we go about writing kids' TV. I mean, it helps that we're immature, but also I think in terms of coming up with stuff, we always just try to think, well, what's funny to us? What's crazy? What's funny? What makes us laugh? And I think why we've managed to be successful for so long is we've never written down to kids. We've always given them credit, assumed they'll get the jokes.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to sneak in.
And that's facts though. Like you wouldn't think like for the age of words of how some of these characters, some of these actors on here, like the cast of all, especially the cast of all that is what Kenan Kel was just having the cast from all of that on there as well too. Kenan Kel and a couple of people in there as well as the folks on there. They was like smart, way ahead of their times though. I mean, it was smart they was very smart, intelligent, and professional for their ages for real too. They knew some stuff, man. It was crazy.
Adult jokes into the
yeah.
sketches, but for us it was just about like, let's write stuff that makes us laugh and assume the kids will get it. And for us, we would generally avoid real specific cultural references like Ross Perot because or if we used them, we were like, this has to be really funny
and obscure,
whether you get the reference
And
or
they
not.
did it.
So it's cool if you get it, but you don't have to get it to be laughing at that.
All that was created by Brian Robbins, who also directed a hip-hop documentary from 1995 called The Show. And as Heath and Kevin told me, this played a role in the musical guests on All That.
A lot of it generated because Brian Robbins, who created the show, All That, was a big, huge hip hop rap
he was.
fan.
I did hear about
and
that.
so, you know, he was producing. I remember he was
directing
directing the show. And
had a double check. See, I told him, yeah, that's if Gershon ain't familiar with him. For the older folks that watch me, he also, along with Dan Snyder, was part of the show Head of the Class, and also that also featured the guy that play the manager Chris on Kenan Kel. He was on that as well too, so they was tight as well too. So yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of connections with that as well too. Like before Nickelodeon, like they was all them two, Brian Robbins and Snyder. Both was on Head of Class along with the guy that played Chris as well too, and you know Kevin is a 5 minutes as well too. So yeah,
and it had like it was a show they shot like in Philadelphia.
I didn't know he had something to do with this. Nice,
up and coming, and whoever was huge at the time.
Like I heard he was a hip hop fan, but I didn't know he had something to do with this show. I may have like slightly heard of it, but still, and this was an awesome documentary movie as well too, though, man. And the soundtrack was lovely, of course.
In this concert, and so he had access to a lot of them. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, whether that's how he met some of them or that's how they ended up on the show. But I know it was a very symbiotic kind of event that happened with us.
Like once TLC signed on to do the theme song and to appear in the pilot, well, it's like that sends a signal, right? It says this is a cool thing to be a part of.
And not to mention they were in sketches that we wrote, and we would do like musical intros, so we would have because we were in Florida.
And that was the cool part about it. They was down for being part of the sketches as well too before they got introduced something as well too. One of them, the memorable one as well too is R.I.P. Coolio. His little interaction with Ed from Good Burger multiple times as well too. Another one I say was Northern Nation in the library with the librarian one as well too. They did clap your hand. I do remember this one as well too with Charles Clips with Kiki and Kiki. I forgot the other one name is. Well, ever stop it? I forgot her name as well too. The other one was the Brad. Was everybody who kept wanting to have the Brad sign different things like their autograph, their underwear, their grandmom, and all that. It was funny. So yeah, they definitely had some good. It was cool, and the thing about it was down for it too. So yeah.
The bands would come out for a couple extra days or something, so they would just kind of be there.
Coolio, he's free.
We could have them in sketches, and they were more than happy to do it. So we would always write sketches, hoping they would do it, and then just cool whatever we could do, we could do.
And I think with the story with this one, I think Ron was one of their nephews or nephews or something like that, and then the other one was their friends. Yeah,
even though they were like a minute and a half or 2 minutes long. It was really fun.
The other huge kids' TV network in the 90s was the Disney Channel, which, of course, has their own history of kids in the Mickey Mouse Club that would go on to be their own huge art.
That's another thing, too. the Mickey Mouse Club. Looking back at that though, they was a little bit before all that as well too. So it wasn't like wasn't as much hip hop, but R&B. You had little kids singing Jodeci on the Mickey Mouse show. That was crazy. And then of course you had what he saw about is the group. I've been reacting to him for a while. I forgot the name. Mickey Mouse Club singing group. I've been singing group. I forgot what they no, not singing Josie. I've been saying what their name goes on, because y'all had me react to them a couple of times. I was trying to remember the party. Yep, it was like something like not the one, the party. Yep.
Artists. I mean, people like Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, even actors like Kerry Russell and Ryan Gosling were Mouseketeers.
And Rhoda from Jamie Foxx show and the new third member of In Vogue.
It's always going to feel a little more dangerous and wild.
Irreverent.
Definitely, we knew even just from like the casting of the show, it was important to have a cast that the audience could see themselves reflected up on the screen. And I think that was similar with the music, that we wanted it to be music that people were actually listening to, you know?
Speaking of like the musical guests on all that, it's too lengthy to go through the entire thing.
It's crazy.
Hold on, quick second. Let me check something real quick. All right, I'm back. Let's keep going.
TLC, Brandy, Aaliyah, Coolio, Blackstreet, Usher, Naughty by Nature, Run DMC, Faith Evans.
And that show put me onto a lot of artists as well too that I didn't know too much about at the time. Like I heard, like at the time, I heard about like I heard about. I think the first time I heard about Usher was on all of that. What was it? Mocha Stuff. First heard about them was on there as well too. So yeah.
Hello Cool J, Tribe Called Quest, 112, Nas, Heavy D, MC Light, Erykah Badu, Mace, Busta Rhymes, Outkast, Lauryn Hill. It goes on and on and on and on and on.
Brian had his own production company at the time, so he had somebody. Remember Tracy Sullivan used to get a hold of the.
She had a lot to do with the music. I know.
Yeah, one of his producers, and she was a producer on the show. She
was just
in charge of music, and she would reach out to a lot of these, record labels at the time. They had all these labels, and try to get some artists that really weren't that popular too. Just try to see what they had, and obviously go for some big names. And then getting them to Florida was another issue, because we shot the first 2 seasons in Florida. We got really, really great people, And then after that, I think once we started getting a lot of people, the label started calling the show and saying, "Hey, how about debuting this song?" Or what about, this?
Do you guys have any crazy stories from musical guests that you A, remember, and B, can share publicly?
Yes. There's some weird ones like that I can't remember the group or the band. Like we had a lot of, like when in Florida, for instance, because the bands were kind of stuck.
It wasn't to dinner with us after, because
so we'd go out to dinner with everybody. We'd always had this like a standing dinner at this crab shack place. We'd have these long tables, and we'd all sit there, and we were like, "Wait, did we have dinner with Destiny's Child?" I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. It was just
they would all be staying at the Peabody Hotel, and inevitably after the crab shack, we'd go back to the Peabody for drinks.
Yeah, Coolio, who was a great friend of the show. Obviously, he did a whole crossover thing with us with King Hotel. So I guess we were shooting on the lot at Universal Studios in Florida and Orlando. So we were literally connected in part of the studio tour. So at any time of the day, any of us could go into the park and go on a ride just with our badge and just get to the front of the line and just go on anything we wanted to do, and then come back. And so I guess this one day we were doing like rehearsals, and they would have sound checks and stuff. And Coolio, and I guess he had a small posse with him, he wanted to go into the park. And so he just went on his own and decided, as being a nice guy, he took one of the little kids that was one of the extras with him. And no one
really didn't tell anybody.
He didn't tell anybody.
It basically, first it was like somebody kidnapped this kid, is missing, call the police, and then it was like, Coolio and his posse kidnapped him. And it took us a long time to find them, but they were all in the park.
As a kid, I watched all that in Kenan and Kel, the Good Burger movie, and loved every second of it. I know it might seem silly, but this show had a huge impact on me and so many other kids who watched it. At what point, or did you realize that the impact this is going to have on a bunch of kids, the upcoming generation?
When we were making it, it felt like you had no idea, because the audiences were excited because they're part of a tour and they're coming in and they didn't know.
Season 1 especially, I think a lot of the audiences were just people they went and grabbed in the park, and I'm sure it was on the air at some point during that season, but people didn't know what they were getting into or what they were saying.
We were kind of in a vacuum. I mean, we were in Florida just alone. We were there for a couple years and shooting these things, and then I remember because I was in the show.
There you go.
So I went and I walked through a mall once. Kids were recognizing me and they were coming, and I went, "Whoa, this show has to be big. If they recognize me, that's insane."
That's also pre-social media, pre-internet, so
Yeah,
ratings is kind of the only things you have to go off of. Yeah.
Once we moved the show to LA for season 3, then I think you started seeing like the audiences would be like way like overflow, and there would just be a demand for tickets, and people wanted to come see a taping. And,
I remember we would go there and we'd look up and go,
that's why like the set looking so different around season 3. Like the set look a little different. I guess we call it the cinematography will look a little different, you know what I'm saying? It's because they moved to LA. Okay, they went to the LA Universal Studio. That's probably why it looked a little bit different around the time though as well too. Though. All right, that explains a lot. So yeah.
Phil Collins with his kids, like it was just, sitting in the audience, not on the show. We just had, there was always celebrity.
The crowd was bigger around
together.
Seriously, yeah.
We had actually had a meeting with Brian Robbins, who is now the president of Paramount. Just out of the blue, he sort of mentioned Good Burger and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, well, we actually have an idea for a sequel. And he said, well, let's hear it. And so we pitched it, and it just took off that day pretty much. And so we started writing it 4 years ago.
I think the movie comes out Wednesday, and then this will come out 2 days after that on the Friday after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So we'll pretend
so this was recorded before the Good Burger movie got released. Okay.
We already seen it, but for those of you that haven't, it's on Paramount Plus, streaming currently.
In their comedy writing, Heath and Kevin said that they don't write down to kids, and looking back, I think that's the biggest reason for this show's success. And I think that idea extends to the musical guests as well. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's not like, okay, let's get these kids acts. It's like, let's get music that kids are probably going to like, but you're not going and getting like, the Wiggles or whatever the equivalent would be for the day.
Right.
You're like,
it was the same concept. It was the same concept. Like, what does everybody like? What do adults like? What do families like?
It was like SNL for kids, pretty much. It was like SNL in living color, Mad TVs for kids. That's pretty much what it was. That's what Walt to me as well too. And ironically, you got somebody who was part of all of that, graduated to SNL, and that's Kenan Thompson though. So yeah, it was pretty much our kids SNL, Living Color, Mad TV, any other sketch comedy show that was adult wise at the time as well too. And I mean, and it had to be, and this to be as good as them though, you had to get some credible guests, not some no offense to the Wiggles or anything, gotta get some credible artists, that music is like maybe not as much for kids, but kids watch it, they'll have a kid-friendly version of the song too, which they end up doing as well too. Now I mean, kids is not stupid. They're listening to the music as well too. Ain't just because they're not just in case sleeping behind their back listening, but they might be inspired to be just like the artists as well too, musically, hopefully. But anyway, let's keep going.
Going on at the time, they were trying to stay ahead of the curve too.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Usher on before he was Usher.
he was
Usher Raymond at the time. Yeah.
I think they're showing that one. They did, because I said the first time I saw Usher was on All That when he did from his first album.
The idea was just to have what's great music, what stuff we want to listen to.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there were a lot of people that were interested in playing ball.
We talked a moment ago about the impact this show had on a generation of kids, but this show also had a huge impact on me directly. To give you guys a compliment and let you know how impactful it was, I definitely, that was my introduction to a lot of those artists. The thing that I'm doing now with Digging the Greats would not be what it is in any capacity without all that. And then on top of that, I play bass in Nas's live band.
That's amazing.
So It's like I don't know, like a full circle thing.
That's awesome.
I love.
Wow.
It is a very meaningful show for me. So
yeah, that's another thing too. They might introduce artists and folks that didn't listen to these artists. You know, they're not in their genre and all that, but they was watching all that, happy to see this artist, and there you have it as well too, and as well too. Like, or had strict parents who wasn't trying to have them listen to this stuff, but they perform all that and you knew about the artist as well too, though. That was the awesome thing about all that and Keenan Kel, but yes, that's the other thing about it though. They introduced artists that's probably their parents didn't want them to listen to as well because they was like very strict, but they had some good music and they shouldn't miss out on it.
Yeah.
Oh.
90s Nickelodeon, whether it was Cousin Skeeter, Keenan and Kel, or all that, it was successful because it didn't talk down to kids. It treated them like real people and brought them into a larger cultural moment, like hip-hop and R&B. That's why 90s Nickelodeon music slaps so hard, because it's actually just some of the best music of the 90s. There's one day in particular, November 9th, 1993, just before all that premiered. This is an important day in hip-hop history because 2 landmark albums were released. Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang Clan and Midnight Marauders by A Tribe Called Quest.
Yep.
You know, the group that would later go on to be musical guests on all that. But I'm out of time. For the full story and breakdown of that album, you gotta click here.
Alright, cool. I did see that on there as well too. I'm gonna check it out another time. But other than that, this was a good video to check out as well too. Good to see Kevin Coppolo and other guys as well too, and good to hear that most of the guys are still doing good. That's behind like the stuff with all that and everything else after it's like the little controversy that went on with one of the producers, Dan Snyder. I'll let y'all look it up, see what happened with that though. It's even good to know that Brian Robbins still good as well too, you know what I mean? Because I'm glad nobody, because stuff like that happened and it's kind of like it gives a bad rap for all the folks that's associated in a way as well too. But thank God is just only the one bad apple got chopped off is everything, while everybody still blossom as well too. So other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bear signing off. One love.